Okay, squeeze in like friendly bonobos, or even stranger bonobos, because actually bonobos are so inclusive that they really prefer strangers to friends. So get close.
We'll learn why. So welcome. I'm Patty Britton. I'm so happy to be here as the moderator for all of you. And for my friend, Dr. Suzy Block. Susan Block, PhD, otherwise known as Dr. Suzy, is best known for her groundbreaking HBO specials. She is a leading champion of sexuality education, erotic freedom, and the inspirational, highly endangered Bonobos. A best-selling, award-winning author, her latest book, The Bonobo Way, The Evolution of Peace Through Pleasure, has been praised as a refreshing must-read by me, sexy, funny, and damn smart by Sex at Dawn author Chris Ryan, PhD, and brilliant by former Pakistani ambassador Sherry Rayner. Recently, she contributed articles to the new Wiley Blackwell International Encyclopedia of Human Sexuality, of which I was a section editor, and Dr. Suzy is one of the most brilliant writers. I was so thrilled to get your entries. We had 52 entries in my section on erotica and porn, and hers were some of the very, very smartest. For over 20 years, Dr. Suzy's been the host of the Dr. Susan Block Show and co-founder of Sex Week at Yale, which started Bonoboville social media. That is so cool. But she'll never quit her day job as a therapist in private practice, helping individuals, couples, and groups to explore, enjoy, and take responsibility for their own sexuality. I give you Dr. Suzy.
Ooh. And thank you, Dr. Patty. Greatest sex coach ever. Yes, definitely. And a wonderful friend, and just a great writer, great person, great guest on my show. And thank you, my fellow American sex educators and counselors and therapists, for this wonderful opportunity. I am so excited to be back on the island of enchantment. A few months ago, I actually came here for the first time. I am not a virgin to this beautiful enchanted island, and I was privileged to give the keynote to the first ecosexuality symposium at an academic institution at the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez, convened by Dr. Serena Anderlini. And no, I didn't get the Zika virus. I know that's politically incorrect, but it just reminds me of the inclusiveness of AASECT and all the back and forth and the healing each other that we do. And AASECT is the world's most esteemed organization in sex therapy and education, and I've been a proud member since, I think, 2005, though this is my first conference and certainly my first session, and so I'm a virgin. So please go a little easy on me. Show me how inclusive you can be. I am a little different from a lot of sex therapists. I mean, all sex therapists are different. I might not be so politically correct to some people, but I'm not like Trump, okay? I'm more like Obama. In fact, I like to think before I speak. So I have a binder full of words, kind of like that old Republican. But no, he had women. I have words. So first, a word about AASECT and the theme of this conference, which is inclusivity. And I just want to say that's what drew me in. It made me feel included. So I really, really like the theme. I've been supporting sexual inclusivity myself since the 1980s, when I first started broadcasting, and my husband, Captain Max, in the back there, since the 1970s, when he published reader-written sex magazines like Love and Finger and the LA Star. And they were the ultimate in journalistic inclusivity because basically they published everything and anything that the readers wrote. So no censorship, that kind of inclusivity. There's all kinds of inclusivity, and they're all kind of important. And it's a very special theme to us, and that kind of reminds me of a very special friend of mine named Lana, a beautiful brunette with bright brown eyes that sparkle as she flirts. And Lana just loves to flirt. She has a couple of boyfriends, but she enjoys her gal pals just as much, if not more sometimes. Yes, indeed. She does. Just like they're enjoying themselves, she enjoys herself. Lana loves to party. Yes, indeed. But, and as they quiet down, I will say, Lana also quiets down. And she will be fierce when crossed. Though she is quick to forgive, and she is a great peacemaker, a great mother, and a very, very esteemed leader in her community. In fact, Lana is like a lot of wonderful women that are here today. But Lana is not a woman, nor even a human being. Lana is a bonobo. And here we go. Meet the bonobos. Yes, indeed. The make love, not war. Chimpanzees who swing through the trees, as well as with each other. Yes, now, if you don't know a bonobo from a banana, then please allow me to introduce you to the long-lost kissin' cousins that you never knew you had. And if you're already a bonobo buff, then you know what I'm excited about. And I hope you'll enjoy this presentation and join me, actually, as I explore a question that, well, I've been trying to answer myself since I first encountered bonobos over 20 years ago. And that is, what do these apes know that we don't know? Of course, we know a lot that they don't know, like how to build a house and a fine hotel, like the Condado Hilton here, or a bomb. What do bonobos know about sex, love, and inclusivity that we maybe ought to know? Well, first, here are 5 things we know about bonobos. 1, bonobos are very, very close to us. That's right. Genetically, like common chimps, they share almost 99% of our DNA. And excuse me, everyone, but that's very, very close. Common chimps are pretty much as close, and those of you who are scientists and doctors, you know, you understand. But you know, even if you're more spiritual than scientific, well, you can just see it in their eyes and in their movements on the screen, which, by the way, are not synced to my talk, although every once in a while they're just kind of here to give you a feel for life in Bonoboville, which is really kind of similar in many ways to life in San Juan, except with more hair and less hairspray. That's number one. This ain't no monkey business. That's right. You know the difference between apes and monkeys, right? What is that? Say it loud.
Tails.
Tails. Okay, now, forward, come forward. And now you can say that you got laid.
Kiss, kiss.
By Dr. Susan Block, right? Yes, and kiss. You know, it's a bonobo thing. So, yay. Thank you, Agua Coca Leaf Liqueur, providing the lays. Yes, these are great apes, and we are great apes. Number two, they have a lot of sex with a capital X. Can I hear an amen?
Amen.
Can I hear an A women?
Hey, women.
Yes, indeed. Quality and quantity. And all kinds of sex. I will come back to this issue. Believe me, trust me. Trust me, I will. I will come back to this. Very important. I promise. But three, bonobos are the only great apes who have never been seen killing each other in the wild or captivity. It's true. Other great apes and monkeys kill each other, sometimes, including humans, especially humans, of course. But bonobos don't kill each other. It's amazing. And it has something to do with all the sex. 4. Bonobos empower the females, creating an astonishingly effective matriarchal culture in which the females gently but firmly rule the roost, keeping the males gentle and firm. That's right. It also keeps the bonobo males looking and feeling younger, longer, unlike their stressed out chimp counterparts who start out just as cute as bonobos, but wind up as grumpy old apes, like by the time they're teens. Bonobo boys stay boyish, as if they're sipping from this bonobo fountain of youth. 5. Bonobos are the most inclusive apes on Earth. That's right, inclusivity. This year's AASECT conference theme is inclusivity in practice, putting the pieces together. And a vital piece, that is P-I-E-C-E, of the human sexuality puzzle that bonobos put together is peace, P-E-A-C-E, through pleasure. It's inclusivity in action, you could say, the best make-up sex on the planet. It is anger management, bonobo style. Because bonobos do get angry, like we do. They just don't kill each other like we do. And we thought we were the smartest apes. In many ways, the peaceful, sexual, tolerant, inclusive society that many of us aspire to is alive and well in what I call Bonoboville. So what is Bonoboville, from my definition? Well, it's a few things. One is the Bonoboville in the rainforest, where you see these bonobos who live in the wild, highly endangered, in the second largest rainforest in the world. And then you have the Bonoboville of the zoo, and you see me sometimes here at the zoo having a profound interspecies experience with some bonobos. Lana is one of them, and some others as well. And then, whoa, we've got all kinds of machinations going on in our Bonoboville right here. Because yes, there are human Bonobovilles. Yes, yes, and sometimes they have walls, although bridges are better, but walls, you know, sometimes happen. Okay, and it's best when they're somewhat sturdy, these walls. Yeah, okay. So yes, human. You are doing a great job. You know. I got my notes, though, so I get back on track. But somebody's knocking down your walls. Is this consensual? Yeah. How about opening up the wall? You would like to know about bonobos over there, I'm sure. All right. Well, okay. They've settled down. The Goths at the barbarians at the gate. So yeah, you're Bonoboville. There's these human Bonobovilles that sometimes have shaky walls, but you got to keep going and doing your thing, right? And we are Bonobo sapiens, right? And I call my community that I live and work in Bonoboville, and I call a lot of communities Bonobovilles, actually, and some of them are starting to call themselves Bonobovilles. It's really developing as a movement, and bonobos as a flagship species for many swing groups, polyamory groups, BDSM groups, female supremacists, peace groups, massage parlors, sex worker groups. I mean, the bonobos represent a lot of what is great about opening up and being sexually inclusive and being female empowered. And here at AASECT, I consider this a kind of Bonoboville, where we're free to explore, well, relatively free. You gotta spray on this stuff. And it's not an aphrodisiac. Not at all. I was spraying it and putting on perfume and honey, All right, so anyway, still our subject is sex, and we are free to at least talk about it, which is great. And that brings me back to number 2. Bonobos have a lot of sex in a Bonobo Sutra of positions. So they show us that it's all very natural and yes, and from behind, but mostly they like it face to face. And that is one of those things that a lot of people say makes us human, is that we like to have sex face to face, but bonobos do too. And sometimes they like to just look into each other's eyes, like, I don't know, humans have to go into tantric sex training in order to be able to do that. Or be really in love or on ecstasy. Or on some, but bonobos just naturally lock eyes with you. And even in the zoo, which is, I admit, not a first-rate experience with nature, but it is an experience, and bonobos are so rare, it's a valuable experience. And you can lock eyes, and it's, eye sex, that deep, soulful look, and very passionate French kissing. So passionate, it's crazy. I mean, it's like us. It's really, really very much so. And I guess, dogs lick, but these guys, they have so many of our characteristics, and they are so close to us. And yes, for want of a better word, they are bisexual. You could say pansexual. It's hard to know what word to use for humans. So, the primatologists all struggle with this. And the sex is fluid. It goes back and forth and around and through them. And the list of erotic activities is more extensive than the original Kama Sutra combined with the menu at the Bunny Ranch. Lots of masturbation, especially in captivity, but all kinds of oral sex in captivity and in the wild, as all kinds of outer course, actually a lot of outer course. This is very interesting as you work with your clients on the importance of outer course, is how natural it is. Bonobos don't spend that much time on intercourse, and they are the horniest apes on earth. So no matter how horny you are, you can get a lot out of what we call foreplay. which really puts it down like it's an appetizer to the main course. But for bonobos, the main course is all that licking and touching and rubbing and tickling. They love to tickle, 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 tickle. They laugh, they play. And something I sometimes call bonobo BDSM, where they hold each other down in play, food play, foot play, genital play, breast play, nipple play, anal play, lots of play. Bonobos love to play. Of course, we love to play too. But you know, play gets a really bad rap among humans as something that's kind of frivolous and, you know, besides the point. For bonobos, play is the point. And I don't know if you've seen a TED Talk by Isabel Benck, a primatologist who describes a trust game where a female bonobo is holding on to a male bonobo's testicles. And they're just kind of holding on. And they go around in a circle, of course at her direction, but he's following her around, kind of like a femdom, you know, clutching her consensual slave's helpless but happy package. As, you know, Dr. Benke says, this bonobo has literally got her man by the balls. Yeah, she's got a lovely South American accent. But there is actually an important point here. Trust requires vulnerability. And the male needs to trust the female because she could rip them off easily. Even though she's smaller, she's got him by the balls. And when she doesn't rip them off, he in turn gets her trust. And then she'll have sex with him of a different sort, perhaps, where he gets to show, you know, his strength, and she is trusting. And this is how they go back and forth with this. And it's a beautiful thing. And when this cycle of trust ripples out to your community, well, I call that inclusivity. And bonobos are so inclusive that, unlike their very distrustful common chimp counterparts, not only do bonobos love to play, and yeah, I was there with the bonobos. There's a little family of bonobos, and share food and sex with friends. They like to do it with strangers, like me. I was, you know, although I had seen Lana before, over a few times, and then she got friendly with me. But they do like strangers a lot, like humans like strangers a lot. And they are very inclusive and very gender balanced, which brings us back to 4 I want to speak about for just a moment before we apply all of this to your practices and clients and students and your lives. But bonobos empower the females. Let me just explain that for a moment and how that works, because it's not just the young and the fertile, nothing against young and fertile, but MILFs rule Bonoboville. And actually this stands in stark contrast to the winner trumps all bully culture of common chimps. And I like common chimps too, and gorillas. Oh, I like all of them. It's just bonobos have this peace thing and this female empowerment thing. And all the other great apes are great, but, you know, including humans. But all of them except bonobos, the bigger, stronger alpha males and their buddies get the best food and have the most sex, and generally by force and intimidation and battering and rape. And that's how they have sex. And that's common chimpville. And it also might sound a little familiar, as in the history of human civilization, you know? Yeah. So anyway, across on the other side of the simian tracks are actually the Congolese River, which neither the bonobos nor the common chimps can swim. So they kind of developed very differently. And the common chimps went out into difficult territory, so maybe that's one of the reasons they came the way they did. And bonobos stayed in the rainforest, in the trees, and had a lot of abundance, which of course humans have in a lot of places. So we can learn something from them. And in this place of abundance, the bonobo guys are as sweet as mangoes, even though they are bigger and stronger, and they have fangs, which the females lack. So, what is going on here? What happened to the so-called law of the jungle? Woo! Why do these big boys let the girls run the show? Well, for starters, scene number 2. They have a lot of sex. Bonobo males get laid a lot, tires them out. And they do enjoy frequent erotic encounters with aggressive, confident bonobo females, as well as with each other. Yes, 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 indeed, they do. They have all kinds of sex, those bonobo boys. And one popular male-male activity is penis fencing. En garde. Yes. And rump rubbing. No tails, but they like to, rub their tails against each other and bump testicles. They do all kinds of things. And yes, apparently all that hot sex just cools them out. Thank you, thank you. Yes, indeed. And rape is rare, and murder, so far, is non-existent in Bonoboville. So, can we have that too? I think so. And I hope we learn from the bonobos how we can make peace through pleasure before we teach them how to kill. Because, we are very close. Some of our differences are cultural, and we could put a gun in their hand, and maybe since we have already taught them how to roast marshmallows, I have mixed feelings about that. I mean, it's so cute when they roast the marshmallows, but it's like, I think we should learn how to eat what they eat, which is, like the rainforest diet. And instead, we're teaching them how to roast marshmallows and hot dogs. But it is cute, and they do it, and it shows how clever they are. And so I hope we don't teach them how to kill, because I think it could be done. I hope we learn how they do it. And a big part of how they do it is in the females. So what's the secret to bonobo female empowerment in a word? I'm all about those words. Does anybody have a good word? All right, no lays for you. Cooperation is very close. You get laid. Yes, that is it. Well, no, it's more than cooperation. But I'm going to get you laid anyway.
I'm going to get
in a word. Yeah. Oh, it's going to look great with your outfit. You need a little green on that. Pure virgin white. You need to be ecosexual. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. Mwah. Mwah. Yes, bonobos do it on both cheeks. Okay, so yes, we are bonobo sapiens. It's kind of cooperation is part of it. I call it solidarity. Maybe it's my political background. But female bonobos cultivate strong, emotional, gal-pal relationships. And it's a numbers game. A single male will, of course, overpower a single female. But 2 single females together, they can probably take them on. And 3, it's no contest. And 4, it's ladies' night, and thanks to their food-rich environment in the rainforest where they're not struggling, and every lady for herself, bonobo girls hang out together, foraging and eating and raising the kids and having sex. And the guys like to hang around the girls. Because the girls know how to have fun, and there's a lot of sex going on. So, if they're good, they'll get some. And if they're bad, well, no. Not exactly. Maybe later. If a bonobo boy is so ignorant or arrogant as to attack a female or her baby, well, her girlfriends will jump on him and they will teach him. That's what they call it, teaching, and it will hurt. They will not be nice, but they will not kill him. They will just teach him, and he will learn his lesson well, one would hope, or they teach him again. But they don't kill him, and you have to contrast this with common chimpville, where the females forage alone, and so when the boys decide to rape a female, one or several, the other ladies look the other way and rarely lift one hairy little finger to help their girlfriend, even when she screams in pain. See, when you're a bonobo female, your gal pals have your back. And why is this? Well, it seems like sisterhood, but actually, bonobos migrate. They're not really blood sisters. They migrate into new groups, and so they kind of move in with strangers, girls they don't know, but they are strangers who become friends. And they make friends in a variety of ways. And one of those ways is sex, brothers and sisters. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
And an A women, because we are talking about the bonobo girls. Yes, indeed. They do something that the primatologists call genito-genital or GG rubbing. I prefer the name that the rainforest people, the Buganda, call it, which is hoka hoka, which sounds kind of like the bonobo tango. And in a way it is, except instead of slow cheek to cheek, it's very quick vulva to vulva. You see it, that when they rub those big labia and their big protruding clitorises against each other, and they'll just rub so hard and keep rubbing and dancing and until they just have an orgasm and fall out of their tree. And fortunately they do know how to land. They do. They're kind of like cats that way. You could conceive of it as a crotch-to-crotch twerking duet. Bonobos twerk for peace, yay! Okay. And hoka hoka lubricates life in Bonoboville. It's a social lubricant as well as physical, and it can be a warm-up for male-female sex. Hey, hey, hey! Yet another reason why the bonobo girls are so assertive, because they're constantly diddling each other. But these hot buy girls of the great ape world are not just gay for pay. They're not doing it to amuse the men. Although, you know, they like to amuse their boys. They love to. They enjoy that. Sex is really a part of the ecology of life in Bonoboville. And it makes it resemble an old-fashioned love-in, especially around lunchtime. Bonobos do love to combine food and sex. Eating while eating. Yum. Now that could get some of us indigestion. Maybe me. This is one of the reasons not to full-on imitate bonobos, okay? So before you sue me for acute gastritis or because your client fell out of a tree or got busted for engaging in some sort of illegal bonobo sex, let me just make clear that releasing your inner bonobo does not mean that you or your clients should live just like bonobos. I mean, I know that sounds obvious to some people, but I feel like I have to say it like as a disclaimer in a way. The Bonobo Way is taking the bonobos as an inspiration, not for blueprint imitation. And you know, really, that less than 2% genetic difference between us, plus something called the expression of our genes that I don't quite understand, but it's important and has to do with all of our deodorant and bug spray and everything we do. And the pesky cultural differences. They make comprehensive aping of bonobos, you know, impossible and ludicrous and kind of dangerous. So please, I beg you, use your common cultural sense when practicing the Bonobo Way or passing it along, and don't get carried away. And then again, smearing your favorite food all over your favorite lover's favorite body part is really nice, and you can eat it up and they can have an orgasm and it's delicious. And bonobos are really the They know how to do that. And also, food is not just food in Bonoboville, as it is not in Humanville. I almost think that there could be a whole, food issues wing of studying the bonobos, because they all also equate food with love and interchange food and sex and the meaning. And food is currency. It's like money. And since the gals usually get first dibs on the food, even if the guys find it, good deal, huh? Yeah. They can spend the extra edibles on having sex with the partner of their choice. This is important. This is why it's very natural for women to pay for sex if they have the currency, if they have the option, and if it's acceptable. Because it is in Bonoboville, the females pay with their currency. How about a mango for a muff dive, you big ape? Or how about my coconuts for your banana? Or whatever the transaction. So, if you think no self-respecting female would ever pay for sex, just check out the bonobos. Bonobo gals pick up the check because they've got the cash or the coconuts. Another way that sex keeps life balanced in Bonoboville. And another reason the Bonobo Way is what I call a new, inclusive, grade A paradigm for human sexuality, inspired by a role model that is not human. And it is the gentle but firm overthrow of the killer ape. Because the killer ape is killing us. For decades, everywhere from university anthropology departments to the Planet of the Apes franchise to the Pentagon, experts, sexperts, politicians, and arms dealers have used the old killer ape paradigm to explain and excuse bad human behavior, as well as to support and finance such violent power structures as the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, abusive police, restrictive religion, schoolyard bullying, anti-sex legislation, the abuse of sex workers, and all kinds of other lethal tomfoolery. This killer ape paradigm, it's not all wrong. It's based on common chimps who can be killers. And the even more vicious savanna baboons, though, who are not apes. They are monkeys with tails. The killer ape darkly suggests that all great apes are natural-born killers, including human, especially human, and that bowing to male brute force and the threat of death, of being killed, I should say, is more natural and sensible than surrendering to a more feminine, more sexual power and the possibility of love. Or is it? What about the bonobo? The last ape is a nickname for the bonobo, and it's because while humans were talking about chimps at least as far back as 1738, bonobos were not discovered until 1930. And for decades after that, they were barely mentioned in the hallowed halls of academia, barely studied because they were just so, well, kind of sexual. And they look like us. Probably look a lot like certain heads of college anthropology departments, which is really kind of embarrassing when you're up for tenure. So, it's only recently that bonobos have come out of the academic closet, literally and figuratively. And now there is a growing Bonobo Way movement among Homo sapiens around the world, in the schools, in conservation, in art, in fashion, in pants, in journalism, in music, in community. And I meet some of these Bonobo sapiens as I bring different aspects of the Bonobo Way in my own way to different groups and institutions in Bonobovilles. starting this year with El Camino del Bonobo at the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez Ecosexuality Keynote, where we showcased bonobos as having remarkably high ESQ, their ecosexual intelligence. And on Valentine's Day, my Valentine and I, Captain Max, and I shared the Tao of the bonobo, the way of the bonobo, with University of California at Berkeley for the 5th International Conference on Monogamy and Non-Monogamy, because bonobos know quite a bit about non-monogamy. And we spent our 24th wedding anniversary, we're monogamish, I guess you could say, partying with the bonobos and bonobo sapiens at the San Diego Zoo, as one of the humans among us sang opera, and one of the bonobos clapped. Perfectly. A couple weeks ago, we presented the bonobos as the most femdom apes on Earth. That's when I started using the branch, and I liked it. To the great, fabulous, beautiful latex, I wore latex for that, the latex doms of DomCon. And we have a bonobo sapien in the field in Portland, in San Diego, in Martha's Vineyard, in Tamara community in Portugal, and here in Puerto Rico. And of course, we also explore it every week, the Bonobo Way, that is, on the Dr. Susan Block Show, in between the squirting demos and the Sibian rides. And yes, it's a very much of a forward progressive movement, but there are backlashes. And some are bitter, and some are terrorizing, and some are bullying. But you can't build a wall to keep out change, brothers and sisters. Can I hear an amen? Amen. Can I hear an amen? Thank you. One reason I am part of this movement is that bonobos are really amazing, but they're not angels. They're animals like us. And like us, they can be violent. And puritanical bonobo debunkers like Ian Parker in The New Yorker, if you read that, love to point this out as if to say, gotcha! But no, you don't. Yes, bonobos hunt in the wild, and no, they're not vegetarians, so you know. They eat a little meat occasionally, and like us, they fight occasionally, and sometimes over the silliest things, and sometimes over very, very serious issues for them. But they use sex and inclusivity to diffuse violent tension before it descends into murder and mayhem, or the chimp version of ISIS and Trump. Maybe those guys should try penis fencing. Now that's a reality show that I would watch. Short fingers and Al Baghdadi, get down, show your shortcomings, yeah. It would save a lot of lives, it would. But you know, bullies like that, they do tend to be anti-inclusivity. Because to thrive, bullies need enemies. And inclusivity destroys your enemies. Thank you. By making them friends. That's right, it's very simple. And bonobos are the masters at inclusivity and making strangers, making enemies, making people, making someone you don't know, don't understand, into someone exciting, someone adventurous, someone you can learn from, someone who can inspire you, someone who can become a friend, you know? And bonobos show us that peace through this kind of pleasure, this kind of journey, is not just some hippy-dippy pipe dream, although, you know, it kind of is. But it is also integral to our primal nature, to our primitive hunter-gatherer roots, as our friend Dr. Chris Ryan says, to our roots as fierce egalitarians, a part of our primate heritage with which perhaps the bonobos never lost touch. Can we rediscover this part of ourselves? Can we stop turning our sexual frustration into murderous aggression and depression and alienation? Can we challenge ourselves to be better givers and lovers and sharers? Can we extend ourselves to saving the bonobos from imminent extinction caused by our human bad behavior? Can we free our inner bonobos before it's too late? Well, I say yes, because the Bonobo way starts with me. In your case, I guess it starts with you. Or you could say your clients or your students. The revolution starts with you. Even if you can't change the whole world, you can change your world, and you can help your clients and your students to change their world if they want to release their inner bonobo for their own benefit, as well as the benefit of their loved ones, their community, and maybe the world. So that's what we're going to explore in a little 10-minute Q&A. So thank you, everyone, for being a great bonobo audience so far. Okay. Do we have any questions before we get into something here? Yes.
When I saw the movie 3 years ago, he talked about they didn't do their offspring. And my question then is the same one I have now. Is that true? And how do they know?
Okay, so here's how they manage the whole incest question, if you want to. It's a form of management. Is, first of all, the bonobo females migrate at puberty. So before they become of the age where they can procreate, they're out of their father's way, the females. So they go to a new tribe. And that's how the females don't do it with their fathers, because they don't know who their fathers are. All the bonobo males act like uncles. And so one way that the females avoid having sex with their dads is they go away. By the time that sex becomes procreative, of course, they'll be playing with the guy. They play, and like I said, outer course is much, much bigger than inner course in Bonoboville. It can give you a lot of fodder for talking about outer course with your clients to say how natural that is. But, you know, the critical inner course and the procreation, the ladies move off. And as far as bonobo boys go, they do stay with their moms. And that is part of the reason for the MILF's power in Bonoboville, is that moms get power from their sons. And as the son moves up and becomes an alpha male, his mother is an alpha female. They kind of work together. They're a team, you could say. And they don't have penis and vagina sex. They do some of the other stuff, you know, they lick, they play, but they somehow have a bit of a taboo, you could say, that prevents the mother and son penis and vagina sex, so that they don't have, you know, a bunch of English royalty Anyway, that solves that. You know, it's getting nice and hot in here. I think I'm going to slip into something a little more comfortable. Yes. Thank you. Dayton Raines gave me this, a porn star. Yeah. To look more conservative. Okay, so now I'm going to slip into something more comfortable and sort of lacy and nice. And should I change the hat? What do you think?
Sure.
I have this hat. Well, you don't even know. How are you shaking your head? Don't you want to see it?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you want to try something new? A little novelty? Because, you know, trust is very important. It's all about trust, to keep people loving you and make people love you. Trust is real, but trust kills lust. You got to switch it up. All right. Any other questions about bonobos? Because that's sort of, I wanted to give you all a good overview of my sense of what bonobos are, and next we're going to talk about how to release your inner bonobos. So Yes, ma'am.
This might be a dumb question, but if they're presumably having sex all the time, why are they going extinct? What's the reason for that?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all the time. I mean, a lot. I said a lot. I didn't say all the time. But they do have a lot of sex. And they just go to show you that, you know, sex doesn't all have to be procreative. It is natural for bonobo females to have 2, maybe 3 babies in their lifetime, maybe 4 at the most. The zoos push them and try to get them to have 5 and 6. But they naturally don't have a lot of babies. And as I'm going to discuss in the next part, bonobos are going extinct not because of anything to do with their own behavior. They've been just fine for over 1 million years, just as they are. It's just because of the human degradation of the rainforest as well as human hunters killing bonobos. They're killing them. So, you know, that's why they're dying. Nothing to do with their sex life. Their sex life is just fine. But it does show you that sex is natural when it's recreational as well as procreational and also relational. That's what bonobos use sex. It just shows us that our cousins who are very close to us, and of course common chimps use sex too, to batter and harass and intimidate. They're close to us too. So are we going to emphasize what? You know, I don't know. I like to emphasize the bonobo way. So that's where you empower the female. The males live longer and are younger longer and happier and relaxed. and the females, you know, get to kind of have some adventure in their lives. And, you know, anyway, it's a complicated mix, but it's what makes Bonoboville go. So how are we doing there? 4 minutes of another question. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, my moderator. I have to.
Okay. So my scientist brain is saying, first of all, how come there aren't more babies? And second, I hear the foreplay versus penetrative sex. And I wonder, do they have a short estrus and they're kind of always in estrus? And that's part of the biological motivation for this erotic environment? Is that part of
their
it?
estrus is very similar to human. And you know, it kind of shows that if humans were not forced by religion and governments to have so many babies, probably we wouldn't. And who knows what might happen in terms of our population. But our population is, we're pushed, I think, into having lots of babies. Bonobos are also being pushed in the zoos, and I have mixed feelings about that, because they are highly endangered. So are common chimps, by the way, and all the gorillas are highly endangered. I mean, we're killing a lot by our human civilization, you know. But I have a particular, you know, boner for bonobos. What can I say? You know, they're the sex chimps. I hope that you guys do too, because you're the sex teachers. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they are so sexual has kept them going in the rainforest just fine for hundreds of thousands of years, over 1 million years, really. And yeah, lately, since we discovered them in 1930, we discovered them. And then, whoa, we're going to like invade the rainforest and degrade everything, have a bunch of wars, and send some people in there that don't have respect. See, the people that live in the rainforest naturally have a respect. They call bonobos our brothers, our cousins. But the people that come in as refugees, they don't know. They see big piece of meat. It's very sad. They are shot and killed as bushmeat. And, you know, it's a tragedy, except we are reversing it. And I hope you join me in the efforts to help save the bonobos, as well as to release your inner bonobo.
What's going on over here?
Yes, what's going on over here is some art. Right?
Yes. I'm Terry Laban.
Terry Laban.
Dr. Block was kind enough to ask me to do some graphic recording. So this is graphic recording, and I'm graphic recording.
It's beautiful. It's really, really, really nice. And you have a good likeness for the bonobos. Yeah, and they're kissing cousins and stuff. Yeah, look at that, the banana, yeah. Oh gosh, peace signs, and the hat, the lady with the hat right there. Right, all right, let's hear it, yeah. That was awesome. I just love to combine different multimedia things, and so I accepted your offer without really knowing what you were doing, but it's
It was a leap of faith.
yes, very nice, very nice.
So can I just make one quick comment?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you talk about this because Linda and I are finishing up writing this book on Sensei Focus, and we spent the first 4 days before we came to the conference over on Culebra.
Yes.
And Culebra is interesting because it's certainly not a first world location, but it's also not a third world location. And I know from Chris Ryan's dissertation, because I was asked to critique it when he was writing it, is that one of the main things there was economic resources, that the resources are available to everybody. And on Culebra, you get the feeling no one's got a lot, but no one's poverty.
Yeah.
It's like the resources are accessible. And I mean, within 4 or 5 hours after our being there, we went down to the local saloon, and everybody's in there with their little kids and their teenage kids, and the kids are out there, and the old people are there, and everybody's kind of there talking and just interacting. And the vibe was so completely different than anything I felt for a long time. That it maintained the whole 3 or 4 days we were there of just this sort of like, it's not that everybody was sitting around being happy all the time, but there was a sense of cooperation. If you went out on the street and needed a ride, somebody would give you a ride. And it wasn't that you weren't a little careful, but we walked on dark streets, 2 hobbly women in the without any sense that there was any
Someone hit on us, just like the bonobos.
There's no violence there as it is in Maine.
Can someone get this woman laid, please? She's very bonobo. Thank you for that.
But it really, as you're talking, I'm thinking that's exactly what we were experiencing there. And I remember.
And where was this again?
Oh, Culebra, right off 5 miles from here. And the comment I had was, this is a whole different way of living. And that's what it sounds like you're talking about, where there just was this, again, and I think the critical thing is, because my specific question was going to be, what Chris Ryan talks about on this is, what would happen with the bonobos if they went like chimps into more rugged, food territory where it wasn't so easily available.
Right.
Which is when you start to get the males going out and hunting and the women folk back at the,
Yes, and
would
competing.
that change?
The women
Because I
competing.
think that the resources being available is critical to all of it.
Well, the rainforest, it's a world unto itself. The Congolese rainforest is the second largest rainforest in the world, and it's one of the 2 lungs, the great lungs of the world, and it's incredibly important to the survival of the whole planet. And yes, the bonobos, their lifestyle is very, very embroidered in the rainforest environment, in that environment of abundance. But let's put it this way, we can learn from them. We have an environment of abundance. We just don't share it equally at all. I mean, we have this 1% situation. Yes.
Well, I just want to comment on that because most of the killing fields that America is in right now is about resources
Yeah.
that we're trying to steal.
Right, exactly.
So that we can have a life
Yes, and they
with 2
don't.
cars and 5 houses and all of these things. But we are now at a time on this planet where that kind of nonsense has to stop.
Thank you, Matt.
Because life is too good.
We have to learn to
Yes.
become share.
That's correct. Mother Earth is going to be fine. We're out of the house, though.
Yes, Eddie.
I was asking you a question. Are you part of the Canala tribe?
No.
Canala tribe was a tribe that was discovered in 1948 in the Amazon.
Oh,
The
yeah.
tribe shared everything. They
Dr. James Prescott talks about them.
They shared resources. They shared sexuality. Although they have personal relationships in terms of connections, women basically build themselves with older guys and whatever. Everything was shared until they were discovered. And the individual I discovered went back in 1972 and the canals have changed tremendously because they were now made ashamed of their bodies. They were now wearing clothes.
Civilization works fast.
Civilization works so fast. And the old people in the Canal tribe were really pining for the fjords. They were saying, we wish we could go back to what we were before we came in contact with Brazilians.
Well, I don't know if we could go back again, but we can go bonobos and
sure.
get laid. Yes, I mean, you know, we can only go back in parts, and that's part of what therapy is all about, is helping people to go back and forth, because we're not living in trees, really. I mean, maybe I should start this thing again and show more bonobos again. You want to see them again? Yeah.
We love the bonobos.
Okay. Let me see.
But you're right, because you can't go back. This isn't about going back. The question is how to move into sort of a new integration where you bring this part back, because you're not going to let go of what we have, so how can you reintegrate this?
Well, the first way, I feel, and that's why I spent so long describing bonobos, is to really learn the bonobo way, learn about these creatures, and just sort of listen to them as though they're our patients and students, or actually they're our teachers, really. They're our teachers to teach us how they do it, how they empower the females, how they have so much good sex, how they play that trust game, how they are inclusive. And inclusivity, of course, is easier in smaller groups, but they do practice inclusivity when their tribes meet. And they do it through food and sex and communication of different sorts. They're very communicative. We can't speak Bonobo, but they're learning to speak English in those places that teach them how to toast marshmallows. So it's very interesting that they can learn human language and communicate with us about different things and concepts. And I hope that we can learn from them, not to live just like them, but sort of how to mirror them. I know when I first saw bonobos, I felt like I was looking into a funhouse mirror, just seeing like myself, only like hairier and kind of having all this sex, and like it just felt so close to me, and I think that can help people a lot with dealing with civilization. Is just to know what our roots are, and just to know that goodness is natural. And there's something called hedonic kindness. Bonobos are very empathetic, and they show us that kindness is not something that has to be beaten into you, where's my stick, by religion and government. Yeah, maybe we do need laws, you know, but it's because of our civilization. It's not because of who we are naturally that we need these laws. And I do think we need them, but, you know, who we are naturally gets along and loves each other and connects with each other and feels that connection. So, okay. Who was going to ask a question? Yes.
Just
or
real quickly
make a statement
about premature ejaculation. It seems like, from my perspective, from an evolutionary biological perspective, premature ejaculation would be an evolutionary advancement.
It is.
To ejaculate as quickly as possible. So I'm curious, from a bonobo perspective, how quickly do they ejaculate?
Well, once they got the penis in the vagina, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They do a lot of what we call foreplay. They do, and the boys do too. And they love it, and they love all the rubbing. But once they get into that vagina, they tend to come within seconds, within a minute or so, just like humans do naturally. And I'm sure bonobos could learn, just they learn to toast marshmallows, how to, make it last longer. But they tend to, you know, when they're doing the tantric sex thing, just be rubbing, but they're looking into each other's eyes. They will have this outer course for hours. And it just shows that make-up sex is very natural, nothing to put down. Anger management, bonobo style. Anyway, when I say go bonobos, I don't necessarily mean go crazy in an orgy every night, though that does sound hot, huh? Sometimes going bonobos is just holding each other. I mean, bonobos do spend a lot of time in these like tantric positions. It's very, very deep blissful cuddling that they do. And also being a bonobo, going bonobos, releasing your inner bonobo is a lot about accepting your sexual self, or learning anger management, or coming to terms with non-monogamy, finding common ground with an upset partner, or just making peace through pleasure in your relationships. And at the Institute, my institute, we call this Bonobo Liberation Therapy. BLT. But much more delicious than the sandwich and not as fattening. All right, hold the mayo. How's it work? Well, I'm not a fan of most one-size-fits-all lingerie, let alone, anything to go for your sex life. And of course, bonobo liberation, freeing your inner bonobo, can mean a lot of different things to different people in different cultures, at different ages and stages of life. And that really is the nature of inclusivity. It casts a wide net. And the Bonobo Way casts a very wide net with lots of holes like Venetian lace here. Yet there is one common thread. It's a thread of bonobo awareness. And that is the discovery of your erotic, evolutionary connection with bonobos, and really with all of nature, with dogs and cats and grass and the ocean out there, and the cultivation and consensual sharing of your particular, very, very personal, bonobo-esque pleasures and power and knowledge with others, maybe just one significant other, or maybe a few others, and maybe the world. And you can get the process rolling right now, and you'll have to wrap it up soon too, because we are going to. Just ask yourself a very personal question. What made you come to this session? You don't have to answer that. But what really interests you about bonobos? Maybe you now know after seeing this, for your work and with your clients and students, or for your own benefit. Maybe you relate to the Bonobo way of femdom solidarity, or male sensitivity, or their playfulness, or their curiosity, or their generosity, or their reciprocity, or the way that they swing, or their lack of sexual pretense, or hypocrisy, or shame. Then there's the Bonobo way of bisexuality. By the way, happy Gay Pride Month, everybody, brothers and sisters. And I just want to say Gay Pride needs a mascot, and bonobos should be it, because bonobos are gay in a way, and that's more than okay. And they remind us that LGBTQ diversity is utterly natural and good for the community as well as the individual, that it makes sense that not all sex is procreational, and maybe not having all sex procreational and accepting that is part of what keeps the peace. Maybe part of what makes us so lethally violent is all this channeling of sex into reproduction, and not understanding what you guys are all about. I mean, you help with reproduction, of course, but also helping with recreation. Questions? Yes.
I don't know if it's a question, but I really love the way this emphasizes other course. That it's not just intercourse, it's not just procreation, that there's a lot of ways to have fun, feel close to the person that you want to feel close to. It's not always about the penis and the vagina.
Well, bonobos definitely teach you that, and certainly as sex therapists and educators, one of the things that we all grapple with is people that are so focused on penis and vagina that they think that's the natural way and that everything else is the unnatural way. Bonobos use sex toys, as you can see here. In the wild, they use branches and leaves, and in captivity, they use a rubber ball going boom, 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 just like a vibrator. And that was Lana, by the way, with the ball. And they show us that experimentation and exploration and outer course is, very primal, and that it's not about the natural way being penis and vagina. It's good, they do that, yeah, they like it, but they do all these other things that we do too, but we have all these hang-ups about because we're told that it's not natural, but here it is. So, yes.
I was just going to suggest that perhaps swingers tend to be closest to the bonobo way than the rest of society.
That's why I always say bonobos swing through the trees as well as with each other. They are the original swingers, and just with more hair and less hairspray, they do it. And in a lot of swing communities, it is the females that kind of rule. There's a little bit of, I don't know about the bisexuality. I mean, there's all the groups in Humanvilles. I don't know if any of them are exactly like bonobos. Probably not. There's movies made like that maybe people try. But there's no community that's totally like bonobos. And I don't think, as I said, that there should be. I mean, there are some people that live in trees. God and Goddess bless them for saving those trees. And that is very bonobo. We don't all want to live in trees. And there are some people that, take the bonobo way of swinging, but maybe not some of the other things. And, that's the thing, is to learn the bonobo way. We'll learn about bonobos. And we also have a handy-dandy 12-step program. But for our big 12-step fans, I just want to tell you that this is the anti-program. The program to deprogram you from all those other oppressive, repressive, and uninclusive programs. So it's just 12 steps. I like the number 12. 12 apostles, 12. It's a good number, and steps is a good word. So they shouldn't have a monopoly on the word 12 or steps. And these steps will help you to release your inner bonobo as well as your clients' inner bonobos. And also all the courses that you take here at AASECT help you to do that. I've really been excited to be here and to see so many people working a form of the bonobo way, even if you don't know a bonobo from a banana, because you are teaching people that sex is good and that it's part of a good life, and it's not just something that you have to kind of repress and channel into procreation, and that's it. So great respect for that. And how are we doing? 5 minutes. One more question? Yes.
I'm just curious where we can get your book.
Oh, yes. Well, a little advertising. You can certainly get it through AASECT. Ta-da. And there's also, of course, Amazon. You can get books through me through my website at drsusanblock.com or thebonoboway.com, or join Bonoboville, because that is our community where we make like bonobos, not baboons. And I would also just ask you, I don't have enough time to go into all 12 steps, and they are here, but I just want to say the 12th step is save the bonobos, save ourselves. And that's the most important step, I think, because even if whether you're a sex therapist or the president of the United States or you just make steaks, you gotta, ecology is the most important question for all of us. This is a cause that is right and sexy, and just like I said, bonobos, it's not because of their sex lives that they're highly endangered. It's because there are humans killing bonobos. It's not complicated like global warming that nobody can understand. It's just very simple hunting, and it can be stopped. And it is being stopped by groups like Lola Ya Bonobo and the Bonobo Conservation Initiative, both of which we support with boots on the ground. And when you buy a book, you are supporting those two organizations. I don't know if you saw Anderson Cooper or Carlos Safina. They were at Lola Ya Bonobo, and they've been spreading the word. And a lot of people are getting the word, maybe just in time. I really hope just in time to save the bonobos, and also for us to learn about our sexuality, our potential for inclusivity, and our potential for female empowerment. It's a beautiful thing that we have this opportunity. So I hope that you will, help your clients and students to go bonobos in their own way, and I hope that you will spread the word. Thank you very much.
Concentrate.
I took a couple.
This is amazing. Now we
This
need
is
to take
wonderful.
some
This is absolutely.
I need to take some calm
Oh, would you?
pictures before you. I'm gonna get you laid.
Can we have a picture together?
Yes, absolutely.
But I don't have Cosmos, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, hey, we're in our last issue. Oh, no, I should have brought you one.
Yeah, well, I did get one in the airport. I couldn't help myself.
It's always
Awesome. You know, I love Cosmo. I had a girl since Halle Girly Brown.
I've been a Cosmo boy.
Wonderful.
That is great.
Okay, this is by Helene, who is a Disney artist. And she did this. This is supposed to be my inner bonobo. Like I got paparazzi.
Yeah.
See, this works so much better.
Now, oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's magnificent. That's great.
All right, so this is awesome.